Hey guys, so just quickly popping in, forgot to give a trigger warning before this episode, so this is me editing it in now. This case is a very, very
Heavy
case. It's a rough one. It involves domestic abuse, torture, and grooming.
I would say it's extreme domestic violence.
Yeah.
Because it is extreme. And
the torture is real. Now,
Yeah.
I will say, I don't go into graphic description
No,
about it,
no, of
but
course.
even the basic description of it is
hard.
enough.
It's hard to hear.
So just to prepare yourselves for this case, guys, if you're going to listen in,
Yeah.
and if not, we'll
speak
we'll
to you
be
in the
back.
next one.
See you in the next one. But yes, mind yourself, guys, and for those of you that do listen,
Just proceed with caution.
yes, but okay,
So, bye.
ciao.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Twisted Talks. I'm Tanya.
I'm Josh.
And today it is Josh's turn to tell us a tale
Tell us a tale.
of murder.
But okay, so this week I'm covering an English case. It is the case of Kelly Ann Bates. Hang on, get rid of that. So Kelly Ann was born on the 18th of May 1978 in Hattersley, England. The Bates were a close family, and they described Kelly Ann as confident, independent, and mature for her age. At the age of 14, Kelly Ann got into a relationship with a man she met while she was babysitting for a friend. I believe from my research that her parents did not know about this boyfriend until Kelly Ann was 16.
Sorry, you said she was 14 and she got into a relationship with a man?
We'll get to that.
Not a boy, a man?
Yeah. So, we're already off to a flying start.
I was literally discussing this with Dawn yesterday about how, I remember when I was in school and being 14, 15 and girls in my class going out with boys that were 19. And I'm like, what did these 19-year-olds have in common with us 14-year-olds at the time? It's fucking weird.
Yeah, but I'm as well, I remember, at the time I was I was a horny teenager, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I was 16. And, the first person I got off it was 42.
Yeah.
And, at the time I was oh yeah, this is great, yay, horny teenage boy me, brilliant. And now I'm that was statutory.
Yeah, that was gross. That was gross.
I'm that was predatory.
Yeah. It's giving predatory vibes.
Yeah. But, we live, we learn.
Yeah.
Or do we? I don't know.
Some of us do.
But, so Kelly Ann was friendly with an older crowd of people, so it wasn't much of a surprise to Kelly Ann's mother, Margaret, when 16-year-old Kelly Ann told her she had an older boyfriend. Margaret Bates first met Kelly Ann's boyfriend, Dave Smith, when Kelly Ann brought him to the house, even. Margaret said that when she first met him, the hairs on the back of my neck went up.
That's not good.
Yeah. Dave Smith was not a little bit older than Kelly Ann. He was supposedly 32 years old. Twice Kelly Ann's age. So bear in mind, if that was the case, he was 30 when she was 14. It gets worse.
Buckle up, folks.
Much, much worse. So, of course, Margaret had doubts and concerns initially, but Dave Smith proved himself to be a concerned and well-behaved boyfriend to Kelly Ann. He would even call her parents to talk about his concerns for Kelly Ann when she began to stay out all night. However, it didn't take long for Smith's possessiveness of Kelly Ann to start. Margaret Bates would then learn that Kelly Ann and Dave had been lying to her. Dave Smith was not 32.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Dave Smith was 48.
No!
31 years older than Kelly Ann.
He was, 46?
When she was 14.
Hold on. Hold up a fucking second. So he was 32 when she was born?
My God! That's not actually funny, by the way. I'm just when you put it like that, I'm just shook. But yeah.
Disgusting old pervert.
Yeah. So, not only that, his name also was not Dave, it was James. As any parent probably would do in this situation, Margaret confronted James about his age. Yes. And all he had to say was, I didn't tell you because I thought you wouldn't want me being with Kelly Ann because of the age difference.
Because you were 32 years old when she was a fetus.
Yeah.
You're 48. 40?
And from another thing I read, a year older than Kelly's dad.
No. That's disgusting. That is
Yeah.
disgusting. What
So,
a disgusting human being.
at the time the truth came out about Smith's real name and age, Kellyanne had started to spend even more time at his house and not at home. She would often be gone for many days in a row without even talking to her family. It was becoming rare that the Bates would see their daughter, and when they did see Kellyanne, though they could tell she had started to lose weight, had stopped bathing and taking care of her appearance. And the most concerning thing was she was covered in bruises, and one of the times she had bite marks. Margaret obviously pled with her daughter, but Kellyanne refused to admit that James Smith was abusing her, and she refused to leave him. Of course, Margaret had rang both the police and social services at some point, but because Kelly was 16, there was nothing that they could do, as once you turn 16, you can legally move out of your home in the UK. I think it's similar here. I'm not 100% sure.
I think it's 18 here.
I'm not sure. Because I know in America, to move out at 16, you have to be legally emancipated, but
Yes.
emancipation's not a thing here.
Yeah, because I think in America you're not classed as legally an adult until well, I was going to say 21, but you can be tried as an adult at 18.
Yeah, so I think 18 is it. It's just to leave home before 18, you have to be emancipated.
Yeah.
But that's not a thing here, so I think you can leave your house at 16 here. It's just very rare that you'll find someone that will give you a house at that age.
What 16?
It's very rare you'll get a house anyway.
What 16-year-old can afford rent in this day and age?
So she did try to where's that mouth bin?
On my fucking vit hit, bitch.
I'm gonna have to disinfect my vape after you. She's gonna bait me after this.
It's fine. It's fine. Just you wait.
She's like, I'm brewing an idea, I'll get you.
I'll get you back.
So yeah, so Margaret did what she could do, but at the end of the day you can't. There's no more she can do than do that,
There was nothing that the police could do to actually help, or social services, so she was just kind of stuck. God love her, poor woman.
Because by 17 years old, Kelly was living with Smith.
Seems like a good idea.
Eventually, Kellyanne had stopped seeing her family full stop and would only talk to her parents on the phone. And while she was on the phone with her parents, Smith would be with her.
So he was controlling everything.
Yeah.
Which isn't uncommon with abusers, especially in domestic violence situations.
Yeah.
But still, she was so young.
And I feel like, obviously, with that massive age gap, you're going for someone younger to make it easier to control them.
And as well, when you think about it, he's essentially been grooming her since she was 14 years old. The amount of control that he must have over this girl. By the time she's 17, she's completely under his thumb.
Yeah. 100%. And it gets so much worse. Margaret got birthday cards and anniversary cards that were supposedly from her daughter. However, they were in James's handwriting. Margaret knew something had to be wrong, but obviously there was nothing she could do. She'd already contacted the police, social services, and because of the legislations and things like that, there was nothing that they could really do either, without, I suppose, proper evidence of domestic abuse or something like that for them to go investigate, which I suppose she didn't have. The only person in Kellyanne's life now is James, who clearly has, as you said, complete control over her by now. One of Kellyanne's brothers tried to go and see her at the home she now shared with James, but James told him that Kellyanne was not home. At some point in time, a neighbour who was concerned asked how Kellyanne was, and James allowed Kellyanne to be briefly seen through an upstairs window. Kellyanne no longer left the house.
Oh my god. And she's 17 at this stage?
Yeah.
That's no life. That's no life for anyone, but
No.
especially for a 17-year-old girl. She should be out living her life, having a few drinks with her friends if that's what she wants to do, or going to the cinema and just enjoying her teenage years.
Exactly. It's disgraceful. Hang on, I just zoomed away from where I am. So anyway, James Smith. Now this, what I'm about to say, I don't think this was known until the trial.
Okay.
By the
when it came out during the trial.
by Bates' family.
Okay. So it was known between James and Kellyanne.
Well, I don't know if it was known between Kellyanne either, but
Okay.
obviously James would know because it's about him.
Okay.
But I just wanted to make it clear that as far as I know, the Bates family didn't know any of this, including Kelly, because obviously this could be, why didn't you do more, kind of, if they had known this? But again, what can you do
They
more
didn't
than
find
call
this
the police
out.
and social services
Yeah.
anyway? And James Smith had a long history of abusing the women he lived with. His first marriage ended in accusations of physical violence, and other women that he had dated had given similar accounts of their time with him. And I even read one thing where apparently James even tried to drown a 15-year-old girl who he was dating before.
Oh my god.
Now, the only thing is, none of this was reported, so there was no police documentation for it. So what could they, there was no evidence.
If you don't know something, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Now, clearly from the bruising and bite marks seen by Margaret Bates, he was treating Kellyanne no differently than these past women and girls, or should I say survivors of this awful man. Mm-hmm. However, nobody in the past got treated as badly as Kellyanne, and as we'll soon find out, the extent of this man's evil.
Okay, I'm ready.
I think this is actually going to be a really short case, even though I have 2,000 and something words. It's just I talk so fast.
Yeah, my one's probably going to be the same, but sure, look. We've done very long ones the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so it's time for a breather, guys. On the 16th of April 1996, James Smith entered the Gorton police station to report the accidental death of Kellyanne by drowning.
Oh, the accidental death of her. She accidentally drowned.
But wait, I don't understand
house, James.
how he tried to report this as an accidental death and how he even had an inkling that he would get away with anything because
Because he's a fucking tick.
No.
He's a tick.
No, but you're about to get a lot more angry.
Oh, Jesus Christ, go on. Anger me.
However, when police officers got to the house, they could clearly see the death of 17-year-old Kellyanne was far from accidental. There was blood found in every room of the house, and the extent of her injuries were brutal.
Oh my God.
William Lawler, the pathologist who examined Kelly's body, found over 150 injuries that had been inflicted over a period of at least 1 month. In the weeks that led up to Kellyanne's death, James had been starving her and had even kept her tied to a radiator by her hair. By her hair, not...
Her hair.
Mm-hmm. Kellyanne had been burned with a hot iron, strangled and stabbed dozens of times in the legs, torso and mouth with scissors and forks. James Smith had also disfigured Kellyanne by cutting at her scalp, face and genitals with various tools, including a pruning shears. Kellyanne's kneecaps had been smashed so that she could not walk. Her eyes had even been gouged out at least 5 days before she was knocked unconscious with a shower head and drowned in the bath. So she had no eyes for at least 5 days before she was even killed.
I need a minute.
Yeah. It is brutal.
That poor girl.
That's hence the word evil, because you know me, I don't tend to throw the word evil around much in cases because I'm evil. People are monsters, but I'm evil.
He was a monster.
Evil. But yeah.
I actually need a minute to process that.
That's why I was really kind of when I was as someone, if he wanted to get away with it, why would you walk into a police station to report, quote unquote, accidental death by drowning, with all of that evidence and abuse and torture clearly on display, and think that you can get away with it at being an accident? That's what just...
Oh, you're going to have to pause it for a second.
Yeah, well, but that's what fucked me up. I was like, how did he think this man was... How did he even
knowing
imagine?
Knowing full well that he had been torturing this girl for years, and particularly over the last month
at
leading
least
up to her death, he had brutalised her.
And how did he think he was going to walk into a police station and be like, oh
my girlfriend drowned
accidentally died? And what I want to know is, what did he mean by accidental death? Did he mean that he drowned her while they were doing something in the bathtub, or did he mean that she actually just drowned in the bathtub of her own accord and I found her, so it was an accidental drowning? I couldn't clarify that. I don't know whether he meant that he killed her by accident in the bathtub or whether he happened to find her dead. But I'm pretty sure accidental death normally means someone else is involved, like a manslaughter situation.
Yeah.
From what I gather, but I could be wrong. So I don't know whether he was trying to say, oh, she drowned. I came home and found her drowned in the bathtub, or what. One or the other anyway. But I don't understand how he thought anyone would believe that, with the evidence of everything I just said, the injuries, the blood. And yeah, I just thought that was demented. Evil bastard.
Okay guys, we just had to take a second there so that I could actually process that, and I had to physically read what Josh had written down to fully grasp it, but I suppose Josh has kind of given his input, so I'm going to give mine. This poor girl, 17 years old, and that is absolutely brutal. That is just brutal is the only word that I can think to describe it. And even the fact that he was already starving her, so she wouldn't have even had the energy to escape him, even if she wanted to. So why did he feel the need to tie her by her hair and break her kneecaps? The girl was not going anywhere. He had such control over her. He was starving her. He was beating her. Even if she was at a point in the relationship where she knew she wanted to get out, she would not be able to. because she would have been too physically weak from the starvation and the constant beatings. And then he decides, I'm going to tie her to a radiator by her hair.
It's clearly some perverse
I'm going to break her kneecaps.
pleasure for him or something, I don't know.
And like, even like the pruning shears and gouging out her eyes. Like,
That's right, obviously, don't get me wrong,
eyes
all of
just-
it is awful.
But the
the fact that it wasn't even a case of he did that and killed her straight away or killed her and took them out afterwards. 5 days beforehand that was done, before she died, like.
This girl, she had been suffering for years at the hands of this man, but that last month of her life must have been absolutely horrendous to live.
Yeah, and like, imagine as well, like, obviously the 5 days leading up to being dead and not having eyes. So like, you know where you are, you know what kind of environment you're in, and you just can't see where they're coming or when they're coming.
Like, any bit of noise in that house must have been terrifying for her, because she wouldn't have known if it was him coming for her, or if it was just someone walking past outside, or if it was the floorboards creaking on their own. Like, that is awful. Like, that is absolutely awful.
It is so
and like,
bad.
I've heard so many cases of domestic violence, but this one just, I feel physically ill.
Yeah. It's extreme.
Like, I've only heard of one other case similar to this, and it was, I think, in England again, but it was a couple who were similarly aged, and it was the woman was abusing her boyfriend. And like, again, this poor man was absolutely brutalised. If I feel brave enough, I'll cover it at some stage, but I know when I've heard it, anytime I've heard it on a podcast or anything, I have cried.
It was basically like, obviously, it was the reversed roles.
Yeah, and that's the thing about domestic violence.
It's
a
both
lot of
ways.
people,
Well, not both ways as in both people. I mean, as in, you know, it can be a man abusing a woman abusing a man, woman.
Exactly, but
it's
I
not
think
exclusive to straight couples.
A lot of people do think that it's just men abusing women, but women can
Which
do
is
it
why
too.
a lot of the time you won't hear many men come forward, because it's like,
There's
how is a
such
woman beating you?
There's such a stigma. Like, you're the man. How is this woman beating you? But like, at the end of the day, most men will not hit their wives or their girlfriends or their loved ones, because I suppose men are raised to believe that you shouldn't hit women. But I'm telling you now, any men that are listening to this, if a woman raises her hand to you and puts her hand on you, you have every fucking right to defend yourself.
Yeah,
I don't care what
self-defense
society says.
Yeah. And like, I would never hit a woman, and even if a woman was hitting me, I wouldn't hit back unless it was absolutely
you had no choice.
necessary.
Yeah.
If it genuinely was a case of I needed to defend myself because I thought I was in danger,
Yeah.
then I would not have a fucking flying fuck what society has to say you're getting slapped.
Exactly, and she.
But I'm the same with everyone. I wouldn't hit another man. I wouldn't hit anyone
unless you have to defend
I genuinely,
yourself. I'd be the same.
120% had to.
Yeah, but like, in that instance of domestic violence, I suppose, thankfully, it's a situation that I've not been in.
And same. But it is different when you're in that situation, of course.
I do know people who have been in that situation.
And there's so much mental
the damage that it has done to their mental
well.
health. Like, I know women who were in domestically abusive relationships going back like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and they're still dealing with the effects of that to this day.
Yeah, there's like there's trauma that builds up in the brain.
Yeah, of course, that's someone that you love and someone that you trust. And like, in terms of Kellyanne, like, even though this man was hurting her and she knew he was hurting her, she probably still loved him. And I know in literature that I've read about domestic violence, it seems...
And as well, though, like, it's not only like that, it's also when they first started dating, she was 14.
Yeah.
So, like, you're probably under that impression because you're 14, and, you know, the adults you probably know are responsible. They're your parents, things like that, teachers, whatever. Mm-hmm. So, like, you probably, if you've been living a normal life up until that age, you have this preconceived notion that you can probably trust all adults, that all adults are, you know, good, you know, for the most part, to an extent, obviously. Yeah. So, like, that probably would have made her trust this older man even more, and like, oh, if it's okay for me, if he thinks it's okay for me to be with him, then it obviously is, because he's the adult, he knows.
Exactly. And even going back to like the girls that I went to school with, that would have been going out with boys that were like nearly 20 while we were,
and like compared to this case, that's nothing,
but still, like, to them they were like, oh, but I'm mature, so it's fine.
I think it's at the time it's just, yeah,
fair enough, you can be 14 years old and you can be mature. But in saying that, I personally don't believe that an 18, 19, 20-year-old should be having sex with a 14-year-old just because that 14-year-old is quote-unquote mature.
I think the oldest you should be if you're getting with someone that's like 15 is, or 14 maybe, maximum limit 17.
17 at a hard push.
At a push, yeah. But 17, you're still close enough maturity-wise.
And you're probably both still in school.
And then I feel like if you're 20, the youngest it should be is 17.
Yeah.
17 is like that middle ground.
Yeah.
Because you're not quite really mature enough to, at that age where you're an adult or anything yet. You're almost there, but you've a lot to learn yet.
Yeah, and if you're 48, maybe try someone in their 30s if you're looking for someone younger. Not someone who is 14.
But you know what? If you're 48 and there's even someone in their 20s that's interested,
someone who's,
that is fine.
Older than
legal.
Older than 14.
Do you know, like, because, like, don't get me wrong, there's people who like older, there's people who like younger, but there's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference between grooming and being a predator and just, you know, having a slight preference for someone that's younger or someone that's older. Like,
Exactly.
I'm partial to older. The older people that I get with are partial to younger. I am younger. I am 25.
Exactly.
Not 15. Not 14. Not 16. 25.
Yeah. Like, Justin was going on 21 when we met, and even that, I was like...
Yeah, even you were like to me, he's so young, and I was
it?
like, yeah, but I was like, it's not that big a difference.
No, because he doesn't have teen at the end of his age. And he is actually mature for a 21-year-old.
But that's a big...
And the thing is, like, before I met Justin, I had always said that, like, I would never really go for younger guys, and if I did, it would be someone that was, like, maybe a year or two younger than me.
Yeah.
Here we are now.
I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say something.
Okay, thank you. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it could potentially be damaging to my reputation.
No, I don't think it would have been.
Okay.
If anything, it probably would have been a testament to it, but I just don't know, do you want me to say it?
Okay. You can tell me later.
I'll just like sign language it, and you can go yay or nay to saying it, okay?
Okay.
So I was going to say about how it was different to be thinking that you wouldn't go for anyone like much younger, because and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you know, that kind of scenario,
Yeah.
which I won't be saying. But
Yes, thank
you
you.
get me, you get what I mean.
I gotta keep some mystery about me.
Some oogity boogity secrets.
Yeah, I feel like you've lifted my mood enough that
Yeah,
I'm ready to return. But can I
continue.
please have your vape? Because I left mine at home. I need emotional support.
Sorry, that was the...
Oh my God, look at the sound wave.
Yeah, that was the vape smoke leaving the body.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It was parading. But anyway, so, right, remember William Lawler was the pathologist who examined the body and said about all those injuries that I'm not going to list again.
Yes, thank you.
Lawler did say himself, in my career I have examined almost 600 bodies of victims of homicide, but I have never come across injuries so extensive.
And they were extensive. Like,
Yeah.
from what you said wasn't even graphic.
No, it was literally the simplest
yeah.
description I could give.
But like that.
But that was enough.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't like to hear that in graphic detail at all.
No, absolutely not. I would have had to drive myself home.
Yeah,
Maybe into a river.
yeah. Very that.
Jokes. For legal purposes, that was a joke.
So, as you would expect, James Smith was immediately charged with the murder of Kellyanne Bates. However, he denied that he had done anything to Kellyanne that she hadn't asked him to do.
I'm sorry now. I'm fucking sorry now, but this motherfucker is really out here, not only trying to say, oh, she accidentally drowned. But
Or
also,
that I accidentally drowned her,
or
one or the other.
that she drowned by accident, and she wanted me to cut at her with a pruning shears, and she wanted
gouge her
me
eyes
to
out
gouge
5
out
days
her
before she was
eyeballs,
dead.
and she wanted me to tie her to a radiator by her hair and starve her and beat her. No.
Yeah. And that's basically what I said next as well. I was like,
I'm sorry. I'm about to sound like an absolute fucking I don't know what, but I know how we're both kind of fairly against the death penalty.
Die.
In this instance, electric chair, all the way.
But you know what then? One of the other reasons I'm also against the death penalty is because I think that's an easy way out.
You know what? Fuck the electric chair. I want him in a small confined cell with a hole in the floor that he has to use as a toilet, no access to bathing facilities. I want him to live in squalor. I want him to live the rest of his life rotting away in a cell with no socialisation. His meals get shoved through a slot in the door, and that's
There
it.
we go. That's another reason I'm against the death penalty, because I feel like...
And he should only get fed once a week.
Okay, for legal reasons, can't do that.
He starved her. He starved her. I think it's fair. I think it's justice.
Well, yeah, it kind of is. It's just not legal.
I said what I said.
But
Fuck his human rights.
Yeah, the only thing with that is one of the... I'm against the death penalty.
It is the easy way out.
I think for some people it can be the easy way out, and then also there's so many cases where people end up being found not guilty. Obviously, this isn't one of them.
This isn't one of them, yeah.
But I mean, also, I think it's like they should be left in a cell with the bare minimum, and that's the rest of their life.
Yeah, like make his life hell.
Yeah, hell on earth.
Hell on earth, yeah.
Because he definitely going there. So,
devil is honestly
yeah,
too
and
good for this
basically,
one.
as you said, I find it impossible to believe that anyone, especially a 17-year-old girl, would request any of it. And to say Kellyanne literally asked for those things to be done is delusional. Like, how did he expect anyone to believe that? I want to know why he even went to the police. Obviously, thank God he did, because he's a monster. But did he actually think he could stroll into the police station and be like, oh, my 17-year-old girlfriend accidentally drowned, and that everything else would just be ignored, case closed, free man? How fucked is that? Like, what goes through this man's brain? I just don't get it.
He's thick stupid.
Now, when the case went to trial, the prosecutors told of the torture Kellyanne had endured. Peter Openshaw, one of the prosecution's counsel, told the jury at Manchester Crown Court that the physical pain would have been intense, causing anguish and torment to the point of mental breakdown and collapse. Of course.
Poor girl.
Openshaw had also told the jury it was as if he deliberately disfigured her, causing the utmost pain, distress and degradation. The injuries were not the result of one sudden eruption of violence. They must have been caused over a long period and were so extensive and so terrible. So extensive and
so terrible.
So terrible. Where the hell? Oh yeah. That the defendant must have deliberately and systematically tortured the girl. The jury was also told of how Kellyanne had begun a relationship with James Smith when she was only 14, and that she moved in with him in November of 1995, and that as her relationship with Smith went on, her parents became increasingly concerned about her welfare. Margaret Bates told the jury that she knew her daughter's body would be found one day.
That is awful.
At the trial, other women came forward that Smith had abused. These testimonies helped to show how Smith was a misogynistic man who was obsessively jealous and turned to violence to control others. However, James Smith tried to argue that he was the real victim here. He claimed that Kellyanne drove him to kill her by taunting him. Smith said, quote, "She put me through hell, winding me up," unquote.
Fuck off.
Yeah, this man still isn't getting it.
She put me through hell. No, absolutely fucking not.
You put her through something where hell isn't even
Hell
the word.
doesn't even cover it.
No. Smith even argued that Kellyanne had inflicted some of the injuries herself to make him look bad.
Of course she did, yeah. Of course, yeah. Because any woman is going to mutilate her own genitals just to make you look bad, James. Just to make you look bad.
That's how...
Because the whole world is out to get James.
Yeah.
Jeez, he's reversing out of there fairly quick, isn't he?
He did a very good job.
He did. But yeah, in conclusion, fuck you, James!
I jumped. I hope no one's... I really do feel sorry at that specific section for anyone wearing headphones, because I'm in the car with you and I jumped because I wasn't
sorry
expecting
if your name
that.
is James. It's not you specifically, it's this James.
And also, Nisha, if you're in work with the earphones in, I apologise for the
Sorry,
amount of
Nisha.
abruptness this episode, because we're both very bad.
Sorry, Nisha.
Anyway, so obviously the jury did not believe Smith's claims, and they quickly found him guilty of Kellyanne Bates' murder. On the 19th of November 1997, James Patterson Smith was sentenced to a minimum of 25 years in prison, which I believe in the UK and possibly Ireland is the life sentence.
I hope he never gets out.
And the treatment of Kellyanne by this monster was so horrific, for the first time ever, all of the jurors involved in the case were offered and accepted counselling.
Honestly,
Yeah.
Yeah, because like in the courtroom things would have been described
And
a lot more graphic. There would have been crime scene
photos.
pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would definitely need to speak to someone after that.
Yeah.
And fair play to them all for actually accepting the counselling.
Yeah.
Because that can be quite hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Now, of course, for the family of Kellyanne, the sentence will never be justice enough. Margaret Bates said, "I lost the best thing that ever happened to me." I'm not sure whether it was during the trial or outside of the trial, but at some point in time, Margaret said, "Smith exuded evil. When I visited once, he showed me a hole in his floorboards where he said he'd had a gas leak. Just a few weeks later, he kept my daughter prisoner in the hole whilst he tortured her." Yeah.
Like, he legitimately stole this girl's life. For what, 3 years?
She didn't even get to have a life.
No, like she lost so many experiences.
She basically got her childhood and that's it.
Yeah, like she lost out on so many experiences, and like she had her whole life ahead of her. And the saddest part to me is she could potentially have decided to leave him at some point and would have probably gone on to be the most amazing person and live her best life.
Yeah.
With the support of her family, who very clearly loved and cared for her and wanted nothing but the best for her.
It's awful. Now, kind of like aftermath and stuff. Margaret Bates worked at Tesco in Hattersley and was said to have felt closest to Kellyanne at work, as the site Tesco was built on had actually been the previous site of their family home until it had been bulldozed for the store to be built there.
Oh.
So Margaret had said, "My checkout desk overlooks the spot where our living room once stood. It is a real comfort to be surrounded by my memories and the familiarity of the past. I feel near to Kellyanne on my checkout. It's my safe place. I know her spirit is here. I feel like she is home again."
I'm gonna cry.
Yeah. Now, Margaret fought breast cancer twice and had received radiotherapy treatment in 2020, which had lowered her immune system, and sadly Margaret passed away in hospital on the 17th of December 2020 due to respiratory failure.
Oh my god.
It is said by friends of Margaret that the possible release of her daughter's murderer had been weighing on her mind. Tommy Bates, Margaret's husband and Kellyanne's father, said she was always saying, "I want to get back with Kellyanne." Tommy said that Margaret suffered with asthma but had not tested positive for COVID-19. Tommy also said that although Margaret never got over losing Kellyanne, the death had not been a factor in her recent ill health. James Patterson Smith is now 74 years old and was considered too dangerous to be moved to an open prison and will remain in closed conditions after he was denied parole after appearing before a 3-person parole board in November of 2022.
Good.
Smith supposedly gave evidence during the appeal and told the panel he's a changed man. I don't think that kind of person can change. A spokesperson for the parole board said, now this is a bit of a long one because, you know, they have to say everything. So the spokesperson for the parole board said, "We can confirm that a panel of the parole board refused the release of James Smith following an oral hearing. The panel also refused to recommend a move to an open prison. Parole board decisions are solely focused on what risk a prisoner could represent to the public if released, and whether that risk is manageable in the community. A panel will carefully examine a huge range of evidence, including details of the original crime and any evidence of behaviour change, as well as explore the harm done and the impact the crime has had on the victims. Members read and digest hundreds of pages of evidence and reports in the lead up to an oral hearing. Evidence from witnesses such as probation officers, psychiatrists and psychologists, officials supervising the offender in prison, as well as victim personal statements may be given at the hearing. It is standard for the prisoner and witnesses to be questioned at length during the hearing, which often lasts a full day or more. Parole reviews are undertaken thoroughly and with extreme care. Protecting the public is our number one priority. Under current legislation, he will be eligible for a further review in due course. The date of the next review will be set by the Ministry of Justice." And that's the statement from that spokesperson. So, and I just said myself, I honestly hope this man is never released, because I don't think someone who can do the horrific things he did is capable of not being a risk to society.
I agree.
There's being a bad guy and being able to reform and better yourself, and then there's James Smith, an evil and sadistic excuse for a human being.
Honestly, that's the best description that I could possibly hear for him or think of for him. Like, this man is an absolute waste of skin and air, and the best part of him ran down his mother's leg.
It took me a minute to understand.
He should have been swallowed.
Oh.
Like,
do you know? No, never mind. I'm not going to say that. I'll tell you afterwards.
I'm so angry and disgusted by him.
I think out of all the cases, this man is the most revolting to me.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, what he did to this girl is...
Like, not only were you clearly a predator from the get-go, but the things you also did, regardless of whether it was a young girl or an old woman or a middle-aged woman or a man, whoever, you know, like, even if it wasn't a 17-year-old girl you did this all to, what you did is unspeakable no matter who it was to.
Yeah.
And
I hope he rots away in prison.
I personally can't see him ever getting parole, which is the right job.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think if he was to ever get parole, whoever's on that parole board would be deluded.
Yeah.
But...
like, this man is an absolute danger to society, and particularly to young girls.
Yeah.
Now, I do think with him being in his 70s now, there's a lot less chance of him being able to entice a young girl in the way he would have been able to in his 40s. But still,
but even in a photo of him back then, the man was not attractive. I don't know,
he groomed her.
Yeah, he just really did a good job at being a pervert.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is the tragic awful case of what happened to Kellyanne Bates, and I suppose with that, I hope she is resting in peace.
With her mommy.
With her mum, and that they're both keeping each other company and looking down on the rest of their family who are still here. And yeah,
I hope she's found some peace.
Yes.
She fucking deserves it.
Because
and it's just a shame that she couldn't have that in her life.
In her life, yeah. But, yeah. So, guys, thanks for listening.
That was a heavy one.
That was a heavy one, so I'm glad it was also a short one.
We will be adding a trigger warning in at the start because we forgot to do that.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That'll be edited in as right now.
So, stay safe, everyone. And I don't know what else to say, but look, stay safe. Have a good rest of your week, and hopefully this doesn't sit too heavy with anyone.
Oh, actually, by the time this goes up, it'll be a Monday, so just have a good week, full stop.
Yeah, just have a good week. We hope that for you.
But yes.
And thank you for listening, and as always, if you don't give us 5 stars, your phone charger is going to break.
So there.
You're going to have a dead battery for the rest of the week.
And you
won't be able to get a phone charger anywhere else.
And then you might be like, oh, I have a spare. Well, guess what?
That's broken too.
We already cut it with the scissors.
Yep.
How do we know where you live?
We have Santa Claus's list.
No.
And he loaned us the sleigh. Santa's a big fan.
And just in case you're like, Santa's not coming to me, you're on the naughty list. That's why.
Yes.
He has both lists with addresses.
Yep.
But anyway, okay. Right, guys. All the best. Have a good week. Mind yourselves. We love you. Stay safe. And
bye.
We'll wreck your head again next week. Ciao!